Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, and to today's show, Authentic Achievements, where it's my absolute delight to soon be joined by the fabulous Liisa Kovala, who is an award-winning Finnish-Canadian author, book coach, and former teacher. She's the author of Sisu, Winter War, and Surviving Stutthof. I might have just butchered that one, I apologize. My Father's Memories Behind the Death Gate, and her latest historical novel, Like Water for Weary Souls, which received a Global Book Award for women's fiction. Her short stories and creative non-fiction have been published in a variety of anthologies and literary magazines, and she's also writing the Hygge House Nordic Cozy Mystery series under the pen name A.L. Jensen. So without further ado, Liisa, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm so good, and I'm so looking forward to this. I'm so fascinated. I mean, there's quite a lot there of different elements in your own books, but also you are a book coach helping other people get their book out. So could you bring all of that to life a little bit for us, please?
Oh, okay. Well, I started out as a teacher. So I taught elementary school, then I taught high school, and I taught special needs students. And I ended my career in 2022 as a English, creative writing, and AP research teacher. And I knew I wanted to write full time, but obviously it's really hard to make a living as just a writer. So I found book coaching, which I didn't even know it was, I didn't know it was a thing. I'd already written several books and it was sort of a new program. Luckily, I had a friend here in town who had done the program. And I said, is this for real? Like, is this author accelerator program, a good idea? And she said, yeah, it's amazing. So I did the program and became a certified fiction and memoir book coach. And it's like the dream job, let's be honest.
Amazing. I mean, I love that because in a different way, it feels similar to kind of what I do here, which is helping people share their story, get their, because I think there's a story in all of us, isn't there? And everyone's story deserves to be heard. And I know how much joy I get from meeting people like you and hearing yours. And I imagine that's very similar, is it, to when you're helping somebody get their story out?
Absolutely. Like often I'm working with writers who are fairly new to the process. So they're navigating, they're learning craft skills. They have to learn structure, and they just, you don't really know what you don't know. Right. So it's a real learning process. And I think when you're writing that first book, especially, but even I have a book coach when I need one. Like I have one sort of on standby. I'm like, okay, I need help with this section. But when I'm working with clients, it's building them up, making them feel confident, helping them see their own writing. Like ideally, the end goal, unfortunately, of a book coach is that they don't need a book coach. but I think we all do for different reasons. Like I like a deadline, so I like to have a book coach for a deadline. Some people need, that conversation back and forth about plot or structure or character or whatever it is. So there's so many reasons why book coaches can be important to a writer. And I also run small group book coaching programs so that, 5 or 6 people at a time. And that's a really nice way to do it too. Like they can be working independently on their books, but they're getting craft knowledge and community and all of those kinds of things in a small group. So it's like a little community.
Oh, and it's nice to have that when you're writing, isn't it? I've just finished writing my latest book, and it can feel quite lonely, and you can get in your own head.
Yes.
And having a coach to be able to externalize that thinking can really help, because sometimes just saying it aloud to another human being allows you to see for yourself. You hear it, don't you? You're like, do you know what? It's okay. I just heard that.
No, it's really true. It's that, you know what you want to say on the page. It's in your head. It's really hard sometimes to get it on the page. And then when you have a conversation with somebody else, or they read your words and, give you feedback, all of a sudden it's like, oh, and then gets your own mind twisting around other ideas and different ways to do things. So it's really important to have other writers in your life, whether you have a book coach or a writing community or a writing partner or a critique group. Like, have community. Writers do not need to do this alone. And I really advocate for finding other people who are doing this work, because my husband I talk to him all the time about what I'm working on, and he's like, yep. Like, it's not helpful. Like, yes, I appreciate the support, but he has no feedback for me. Like, he has no idea what I'm doing after all these years.
Oh, bless it. But it's a difficult one until you've done it, isn't it? Until you sat with that blank sheet of paper, trying to work out where to start, because you've played the story for so long in your head to get to that point, to go, I think this is a book. That I love that whole need for community, because it can be quite lonely, can't it?
It can be. And I've been really fortunate over the years, like with my first book, which was, as you mentioned, Surviving Stutthof. I knew, like, I was an English teacher and a creative writing teacher, but I knew there's a difference between being a really great writer, or a reader rather, and being able to critique other people's work and writing. Like, once you start to try writing, it's all of a sudden you realize you don't know that much about it. So I studied at University of Toronto creative writing program, and I had so many great mentors and met lots of other writers. And right from the beginning, I always had other people in my camp. So I think that's probably why I'm such an advocate for having writing groups and having mentors and book coaches, because, like you say, it can be such a lonely endeavor, and then you can feel really doubtful about how it's going, and are you doing the right thing, and is this a good story? And like your head gets wrapped around all of those things, and it gets really hard to do the work, which is, like, we all know, if you're writing a first draft, it's going to be terrible, and let it be terrible. That's okay. Like, you're exactly where you should be in this developmental process. But new writers don't really understand that. They think, like, oh, I'll write and it'll be great. It's not going to be great, and that's fine. So having other people to assure you that you're okay, you're on the right path, keep going, it'll be fine.
I love that, because sometimes just getting started. I remember my first book was an anthology, so I only had to write a little bit of it. And actually, they approached me, and it was the very first day of lockdown, and they were like, "Kim, we're writing a book on remote working, and you've led remote teams. Can you write a chapter?" And I was like, "No." I've got a shopping list, let alone a chapter in a book. I mean, like, just no. And their comeback was, "You're in lockdown with a 2-year-old. What else are you going to do?" So fair point, well made. And so I did, and I only had 5 days to write my chapter.
Wow.
Which really helped on your point, having a deadline.
Yes.
And I had a community, because it was an anthology, so
yes.
it was a great way to get started. Are there other things like that you can recommend for people? For the people listening and watching that are there going, I didn't think I could write, but maybe I can.
Yeah, 100%.
How might they get started?
Yeah, I think some of the most basic advice that can be helpful for people who have that. Like, I think everyone has a book idea, actually. Like, when you speak to anybody about being a writer, they say immediately, oh, I have this idea, or someday I want to write a book. Like, everyone has a book in them. And then there's only a small percentage of people who actually move forward with that. But my suggestion is, first of all, read. Like, if you want to write romance, read romance, and everything else as well. But, like, really look at that genre and what's happening in it. If you're writing science fiction, thriller, cozies, historical fiction, whatever it is, read a ton in that genre, good, bad, the ugly, get a sense of what, how those stories are told. So you're really reading like a writer, like, instead of just enjoying it, you're kind of analyzing it. And the other thing is, just in terms of getting that story started, is start writing short bits. So, like, sit down for 10 minutes and write, like, let's say you're writing a memoir, you might just write like one memory. There's no thought about structure yet, or about what this whole book is going to be about, how about just write down some of those ideas? So if you're writing, I don't know, fantasy, start building that world, get yourself immersed in your story, and you'll see that the writing comes more quickly than you expect, because it's all up there. Like you were saying earlier, it's in our heads for a long time. And just getting something down on paper is something to work with. Once the blank page is filled, now you can play. Now you can work on craft. Now you can think about structure. So just start somewhere and don't wait till you feel ready. You will never feel ready. Just do it.
Oh, I love that. That so resonates. You know, it's like you don't ever feel ready. And I know for me, one of the things is the great idea never comes at the right time. It never comes when I've got pen and paper with me. So,
yes,
so
in the shower. Yes.
Or on the dog walk. Mine often comes on the dog walk. So I've got a voice notes app, and I'll just talk it into it so that I don't lose the train of thought. And then, like you say, it doesn't have to fit into a structure at that point, does it? You can take that time. But one of the things I was really bad at, and I wonder if this is normal, if it was just me, was I would get so hung up on the structure.
Yeah.
And that I over engineer things, and then they might fit together. And it's like, once I took a step back and went, just get it all out first, 100%. And then you can work out what bits fit and what bits don't fit.
100%. So I'm sure you've heard of the words, and a lot of folks have heard the words pantser and plotter. And so pantsers are the people who fly by the seat of their pants and just write that whole first draft, not worried about anything, just get it down. So that can be very successful for some folks. It does mean a lot of going back to revise and change and structure and develop. And so I'm not, like, I've tried pantsing. It's not great for me. I'm a little bit more organized than that. So I kind of need a more structured approach. Plotters are the ones who have a sense of where the story is going. They kind of know their key elements that are going to happen. They know who their characters are. They probably know some backstory. They kind of figure it all out before they start writing. Some plotters, I know one person here in Canada who plots his novel for probably a year and then writes it very quickly, but it's like really plotted. Most of us don't plot quite that heavily. Just sort of an outline that will help us move forward. So with the Author Accelerator program, what I do with my clients is called a blueprint for a book. And it's a great strategy because it asks you to do all these little activities that help you understand your story, your characters, what the point of doing this story, why are you writing the story in the first place, who these characters are, who's telling the story. And you make a lot of initial decisions about your story before you start to write. And the other thing it asks you to do is this. It's called an inside outline, but it is a way of plotting, but without being so dogmatic about it. Like you can plot it out and tell us what's happening in the story and why it matters, and keep adding to this as you're writing and changing it as you're writing. But it's a really great place to start, so that when you're writing, you don't feel like, oh, what am I doing and what's next? And you don't have all of those questions because you've already thought through the process. So the blueprint I highly recommend it. If people haven't tried it, it's a great tool for writers, both memoir, fiction, and nonfiction writers.
Amazing. And I can see how that would help, because it kind of gives a structure, doesn't it? It allows you to not fence yourself in too much. I mean, like you, I probably wouldn't be somebody who did it for a year. I mean, I admire somebody who's got that level of I think
I would get bored by the story by that point, right? Like, but after a year of plotting, I'd just be like, I just want to write.
I'd be in the same place, which is like, how do you get the balance between having a framework which holds you to account without having a system that restricts you?
Exactly.
And I guess you've got to get that bit of balance, haven't you? That says, how do I ensure that this is giving me some accountability? It's giving me a structure that I can understand how it flows. Because one of the other things, I'd love your thoughts on this, is we've lived with the story for a long time, because we've lived with it before we've even decided it could come out, and then we've lived with it while it comes out. So there is a risk, isn't there, of assumed knowledge?
Oh, yes. Always, always. And so I'm often working with, especially like I say, new writers, but even more seasoned writers do this too. We know the story so well that when we're writing, we don't write what the reader needs. Like we kind of forget about, like, I always think of it as there are three people in this relationship. There's your character and yourself, the writer, and the reader. And if you and your character know what's going on, the reader might be in the dark. And if you aren't explicitly writing what you need to get down on the page, the reader doesn't know what's happening. So you have to balance all of those things. And I'm often telling writers that you know what you mean, but the reader doesn't know because you haven't let them in on that part. But because it's all in their head already, they think it's on the page and it's not there yet. So that's what a book coach or another reader or a beta reader or developmental editors, those folks are going to really help you understand that, your story is there, but it's like there's bits missing. There's not enough. We need more interiority. We need more development in this section because it's in the writer's head, but not on the page.
I love that. And that so resonates because all the way back to school, my teachers used to say, like, be careful of rabbits out of hats. It just thrives. And it's illogical, but you've not given me the steps that help me get from there to here.
That's right.
And I'm very conscious of that when I'm writing, and therefore, my coach helps me with that, which is, does this make sense if you're not in my head?
Exactly.
The reader is not in your head. So they haven't got access to all the knowledge that you have, that you've, and assumed knowledge is something we all do, isn't it? Because we know what we know, and we often undervalue that. Do you see that a lot in the people you help writing, where they're not fully appreciating that their knowledge is valuable? Because they've known it for so long.
Yeah, I think that's very true, and that that really you don't know who that reader will be, so you can't assume they have the same life experiences as your characters, the same, and not that we always write about like characters that are similar to us, but we're drawing on our own life experiences when we're writing, and we have maybe some biases that we can't help but come through in our writing. So there's a lot of us coming into our writing, even if our characters are completely different and we put them on Mars or wherever, like they're aliens. I don't know, but we're drawing on our own personal experiences, and we can't assume that the reader has those experiences, right? So we have to be very careful about that. And the flip side of that is when writers have a really good understanding of a particular thing. So for instance, I don't know, like if you're an auto mechanic, like I don't know anything about auto mechanics, but if the writer was an auto mechanic and their character might also have something to do with that, then we might spend 3 or 4 paragraphs talking about the undersides of a car. The reader doesn't care. So like there's also a tendency for writers who have this really passion for a topic or understanding of a topic, and they're deeply invested in it, that they want to tell the reader everything about it, but it will slow the story down. The reader doesn't care. Like they want a little bit of details. They want to understand something about it, but not everything. And so you can either have not enough, or you can have way too much of that specialized knowledge.
Yeah. I can absolutely see that. I see that sometimes, even just interviewing people. Some people, you're kind of like, okay, it's lovely that you're telling me about the color of the wallpaper on this particular thing, but I'm not sure that's really the point you want to get across, or the thing that you want to land with the audience.
It's true.
When they're sitting there going, come on.
Get to the point.
The bit that has me hanging on. And that can be hard, because actually often people are trying to make sure that they're not leaving anything out, and it's as hard to work out what not to leave out as it is to work out what to leave out, isn't it?
Yes. And that's where really great secondary readers, beta readers, editors come into play, right? So book coaches serve that role. Once you have a couple of drafts done and you're getting to that place where you don't know what to do next, and what do I take out? What do I need to add? And you're sort of stumbling. It's time for, beta readers or developmental editors to look at your work and be able to give you some clear feedback about what's going well and what needs to be worked on. Because we can no longer see it. I feel like at some point in our story, we're just like, now it's down on the page, but I just don't know what to do with it next. And I think that's where people stall out, and they might pause writing altogether, or they might just start to tweak at the sentence level or the word level. And they're really not making the story any better. They're just like, I'm editing, but they're not much is changing. So having somebody else read your work with fresh eyes, that's so important.
That's it. You're right. Having anything with a fresh pair of eyes is so helpful. And I think you've been gracious to share that there's so many ways that you can do that. That could be beta readers, it could be a community of other authors, it could be a book coach, it could be a combination of all of the above.
Yeah,
for different parts that allow you to get to that. So so if I'm listening and watching and I've got a book in me, I think, how do I work out what type of book it is? Because I don't know if that resonates, but whenever I meet people and they know you've written a book, they'll be like, oh, what genre and why did you decide on it? And it's like, that for me was hard. When I bought out a children's book, it was outside of a genre I felt comfortable with, but it wasn't ever supposed to be a book. It was supposed to be a story for my child. And somebody saw it and thought it should be a book. So there was a real fear for me that I was stepping into a genre I didn't have a right to be part of. I wondered, is that something you've heard before, or is that just a weird nuance that's me?
No, I think that a lot of new writers especially will just start writing their book. And they're not really thinking about genre. So they don't necessarily know the conventions. They don't know where their book will sit in, on a bookshelf in a bookstore. And they don't know how, for instance, a publisher might promote it. So I think that's our job early on. And that's part of like this blueprint that I was talking about earlier. A couple of those steps include things like, who's your ideal reader? Who do you want, who are you hoping will read this and love this, and understanding them a bit, and then understanding your genre. So initially you might not know what your genre is, but I think it's wise to kind of decide, okay, well, this is really romance, or this is historical fiction, or this is thriller. Like, start to understand the conventions of the different kinds of books. And then you can just see where yours best suits, right? And it may not be perfect. Like, you might even have a hybrid where it's a historical romance with a mystery. I don't know, like there could be any combination. If it's doesn't suit one of those, sometimes it might be more, if it's more character driven, it's it's probably going to be more on the literary side, maybe less action, less like it's a slower pace. So it might be literary fiction that you're looking at. So it's really important for us to understand our genre, even though we just want to write the book. And then, a really great idea and kind of a fun one is to go to the local bookstore and take a look at the shelf where you think your book would sit. And what do they look like? Read the back covers, read a page or two, look at the covers. Is this actually where your book would sit, or would it sit better over on that other shelf? And get a sense of what's being written. And then, of course, read, like I said earlier, read in that genre. So to make sure that that's where your book fits. And that if there are particular tropes that need to happen in your story, like if you're writing romance, there's certain things that should be happening in a romance novel. So you're going to make sure that your book sort of hits that kind of those tropes that readers expect. So yes, it's possible to write the whole book and then go, okay, what genre is it? But if you know in advance, try to figure that out first, and then you know where you're moving towards, and it makes your life so much easier as a writer. And also if you're going to pitch it to publishers, if you're going to query it to literary agents, or even if you're self-publishing, you'll know what genre it is, and then you can reach readers, because that's really important that we know how to reach the right readers.
It's so true. And actually each genre has its own kind of expected arc, doesn't it? Of what, and if you miss an element of it,
don't do that.
Then the reader is left confused, because they're like, well,
I thought I was reading this.
It's such good advice. I love the bookstore idea. Me and my little girl spent a lot of time in bookstores and libraries in the run up to the book being published, around what will it feel like. And you're right, it is fun, isn't it? It's an exciting part of the tangibleness of when your story is out.
Yes.
What's next? Because that is the next challenge, isn't it? I mean, the book's written, it's there, it's either published or self-published, or whichever route you've gone down. But then the most important bit, to your point, is how does it get to the right reader?
Yes, 100%. And it's such a challenging thing. So I think if you understand, you've gone through the whole process, you've written, you've had feedback, you've had developmental editors, you've, got it published, however you decided to do that, because there's so many options in terms of how you can publish these days that it's like kind of a magical time for writers. But then, yes, getting it out into the world is a difficult thing. So this is advice I would give to any new writer. Don't wait till your book is out to start thinking about how to promote it, how to let people know about it in the world, because it's a little late. So what I would say is, if you're starting to write a book now, and I know not everyone loves social media, I know we have a love-hate relationship with it, but find, start a newsletter. That's important early on. Get on social media, not everything, pick one or two places where you feel comfortable, and start telling people, I'm writing a book. Oh, but here's me at a coffee shop working on my manuscript. Start to dribble out information about what you're doing, get people interested. When the book comes out, you already have a group of people who have been waiting for it, which is fantastic, right? Instead of waiting till it's out and then you're like, okay, how do I let people know? And I think that's the part most authors, a lot of authors are introverted. I'm very introverted. And I think that's one of the things they struggle with the most is just look at me, this is what I'm doing. We don't want to do that. We just want to be quietly writing in the dark somewhere and don't tell anybody. But don't do that. It's not going to help your book at all. And I really think the most important thing, which I did not do, I resisted for many years, was start a newsletter. And I didn't understand the power of the newsletter and then the email list until a few years ago. So start a newsletter, and you don't have to write long. You don't have to write even that frequently, but just get it started. And then you gain comfort and you feel, okay, I can do this. And it gets easier. And then by the time the book comes out, you have that group of people who are waiting.
That's such great advice, because I know for me personally, I waited until I knew exactly when it was going to come out before I started sharing any of it, because I kind of don't think it felt real until then.
That's right.
I don't want to say anything to anybody, or people might think, well, does she think she's going to be? So we internalize and we allow that to hold us back, don't we? But that's a great idea. Is invite people into the process, help them feel like that they're part of building that story, that they're. Because then it becomes theirs, doesn't it? As much as it's yours.
Yeah, 100%. I love it's the book is called Be the Gateway. I want to say it's Dan Blank. who wrote it. And I love his philosophy about promotion and marketing because it's very human centered and it's about connecting with readers as a human being. And I think that's why if you can make those connections and it becomes about human beings and not about like selling something, it feels way more authentic and enjoyable, and you get to like meet people and that, you know, they have their own interesting lives and you can have conversations and yes, then you can tell them what you're doing and you can tell them about like, oh, this character you're working on, or, you know, give them insight. But that it's less about like, here's my book, buy my book. Like this not gonna, it's not good. And nobody likes that. It feels very icky and nobody wants to be pitched to constantly. But if you're making connections and it feels authentic, and it is authentic, like I don't even want to say feels, because I don't think I could do it if it wasn't authentic, right? Like I just can't fake it. And then you can start to enjoy social media and you can start to enjoy like putting out a newsletter. Because you get feedback from people who like appreciate it and like what you're talking about and are interested. And that's a beautiful connection to make with readers. So yeah, if that's a book I would recommend, Be the Gateway, if anyone hasn't seen it before. It's just a very thin volume, but it speaks to me in terms of how to put yourself out in the world and let people know, like invite them in. This is what I'm working on. This is my craft, my art, my book, whatever it is. And you know, you are letting them in on the fact that there is something there, but it's like an invitation. It's not a hard sell. So it feels better.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I'm definitely in that space of, you know, no one likes to be sold to.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel ever particularly genuine to me.
Right.
And authenticity is one of my hot buttons. That's why I've got a show called Authentic Achievements. Just be authentic for you, you know, and the right people will come in.
Yes.
And the right ones, that's okay, because it's not everybody's part of your tribe.
That's good.
But that's really a hard thing to acknowledge, can't it? That you are not going to be right for everybody.
Yes.
But that's okay, because it would be wrong if you were right for everybody, because that couldn't happen.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And so I'm thinking, just remind me of the blueprint again, because there is that step about the ideal reader. And when you imagine your ideal reader, you're thinking about who this one person in the world is, who they are, what their life is like, what kind of personality they have. You're thinking of one person who is the right fit for your book, because you're right. Books aren't written for everybody. Like I've heard the example of Harry Potter. Well, you know, it's read by little kids and grandmas and adults, and that's true, but it's a real rarity. That almost never happens. Books are written for a particular so that's why we have categories, right? We have children's literature and we have YA and we have middle grade and we have adults, and then we have all these different genres because they're not for everybody. So kind of understanding your audience will help you connect with them. And if you aren't on a social media platform, or you don't have a newsletter and you're not reaching audiences, how are they going to know that you wrote it? Like, they're for you, they're your people, but they don't know because you haven't told them. So there's a kind of a responsibility from our side to make sure we let people know it exists so that they can find it, because we're really writing for them, and you know, we have to reach them somehow.
I love that. It's so true. And actually, once you know your person, and I think about the children's book, for example, which was never supposed to be a book, it was so easy to write because it was a story for my child. It was only never supposed to go there. It was never supposed to go anywhere wider than that. But it flowed so quickly because you knew the person so well, what they like, what they didn't like, how they learn, how they absorb information. So having that one person is really helpful, but it can feel, can't it, a little bit counterintuitive to the author that's going, oh, I want it to be able to speak to lots of people. And it's like, if you try and speak to everybody, you'll speak to nobody. Would that be fair?
That's the message, right? And that took a while for me to wrap my head around too, even for book coaching, because the idea is a lot of book coaches are very niche oriented, and that's important because you're finding, again, the ideal client. And that same applies for books. So you want to find your ideal reader. But then, the more you narrow down, the more specific you are about what it is you are deliver and what you are doing and what you're writing about. And those people will find you. But then, interestingly, people who may not be what you would think as the ideal reader or the ideal client, they also find you too. And so it's not they're put off by that you're niching down. They're like intrigued by that, and it's resonating for them for some reason. So there's nothing wrong with being fairly niche about your work, because you're going to find your people. As an author, I write a lot about Finnish Canadian immigrants and Finnish history, and I have readers like mine is quite a niche market in some ways, but then I have readers all over the world, because it's really about stories about human beings and life and experiences. So it becomes about so much more. But if you can focus down, it's better, and I think you're going to reach the people that need to see your work, and it'll resonate for them for sure.
Amazing. That was so insightful. And I can't believe where time's going. I'm conscious that I want to be able to ensure that people know how they can find you, how they can find your books, and also how they can work with you. So that's questions, answer any of them in order.
Yeah. Well, the easiest way to find me is on liisakovalabookcoach.com. So I have one website for all the things. So I have my books are there, my cozy mysteries are there, my book coaching is there. I have information about the writing retreats are there. So there's a contact me form. So really that's the best place is my website, Liisa with 2 I's, because it's spelled the Finnish way. And from there, the LinkTr.ee is a good resource too, because it connects you to all the things. The books and the website and the Substack. If folks are looking for me on Substack, they'll find the Women Writing Podcast, the newsletter, and they can sign up. There's the webpage. So that's probably the quick and easy way to find me is on the website, because you can get to all the other places from there.
Amazing. I love that. And who would you love to find you?
Yeah. So when it comes to book coaching, I mainly work with women writers, although I have male clients also. And my areas tend to be around historical, literary, cozy. I've been working with a sci-fi writer, so that's been really fun. So I actually will work with lots of different genres, but the most important thing, I think, is that the client and the book coach, so whoever you look into for a book coach, that they gel. So have a meeting, a 30-minute call with a prospective book coach, so you get to know each other and make sure you feel comfortable. Like we were talking about earlier, authenticity, right? We want to make sure this is going to be the right fit. And so I think that's even more important than genre. So I would suggest anyone looking for a book coach kind of do their research and have a couple calls and just meet people. And it's kind of a nice way to connect with folks.
Amazing. And it's such good advice, because it needs to gel, doesn't it? You need to know that if you have a coach, because you're going to trust them to help you to do something. So if when you have that meeting, you don't feel like you're going to trust them, it's not the right coach for you.
100%. And it becomes like a long-lasting relationship often. Like sometimes I'll work with somebody, for a package, they just need 3 months of work on such and such a thing. Great. Other times it's a developmental edit and we don't have as much interaction. And then I've worked with authors, for a year and a half, because they're working like steadily on their projects. So these can be really, important relationships in your life. So you want to like the person. It's important.
And you're trusting them with something so personal, aren't you? Like putting your story out into the world takes some courage. Because what if you put it out there and nobody likes it? So we live with that fear, don't we? That concern that what if this doesn't land anywhere? And so your coach is helping you through that process. And so it's so important, isn't it, that they feel like somebody you can trust with something so personal.
That's right. Yeah, it's so important. And I'm so pleased. Like I have a writer who's putting her book out this Saturday, and it's her first book and the first time she ever wrote anything of this length before. And to see her go from somebody who's called herself, well, I'm not a writer, to putting a book out, it's like amazing. I'm so excited for her. And like I say, it's such a personal relationship that you develop with your writers, because you're in their camp. Like I'm solidly behind my writers and helping them make the best book they can make.
Oh, I'm so excited for them as well, because it's such an achievement. Liisa, it has been such a joy to have you on the show, and you shared such great advice. So thank you for coming and being with us and sharing all of your advice and your experience, and hopefully inspiring other wannabe writers out there to take a step towards becoming an author too. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And to everybody listening and watching, I hope you found today's episode to be as insightful, thought-provoking and inspiring as I have. And until next time, please take care.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
In a noisy world, true connection begins with listening. Elevated listening transforms every conversation in just 5 simple steps. Pause and breathe. Set your intention. Listen with curiosity. Reflect back. Agree on one next step. Join the Listening Mentor on Let's Finally Talk with Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, where we help you find inner peace, one conversation at a time. Streaming every day. Let's Finally Talk TV show with Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, only here on USA Global TV and Radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channels to watch and engage with all our content.
Listen, babe, now. 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 Listen, babe, now.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.